Greyhounds meet Duke, two undefeated teams, and Keith, the Greyhounds lost a lot of people, but they still are riding a 25-game win streak in the regular season. Dave Cottle still got some talent here.
Still got a lot of firepower. You have to replace a Mark Fry, Tim O'Shea. That's not easy, but he's got some talent. But Duke comes in rank 4. They have perhaps more firepower on attack than most teams in the country. So Loyola's young, small defense will be counted on today to come up with a big effort.
Duke is 3-0. The Greyhounds are 2-0. Let's bring in our expert analyst, the former All-American goalie from Hopkins, Quint Kesnick. Quint, one of the matchups in this game I'm sure you're going to keep an eye on, that attack that Keith mentioned. Big physical for Duke against a smaller Loyola defense.
Yeah, Duke has arguably the best attack in the country, and it's because of balance. They have T.J. Durnan, Greg Patrick, and this guy right here, Jared Frood. He'd be our featured attackman for Duke. 80 career goals to go with 57 career assists, so he's balanced, tall, 6'2", 200 pounds. He's got size. He's got tremendous accuracy with his shot. Duke's attack unit, the best in the country.
And in goal, they've got the ACC Player of the Week coming off a big game against Maryland.
Matt Breslin is seasoned now. Last season he was a sophomore, had 61% save percentage. This season he's about 57%, but he is a seasoned goalie. I think he ranks in the top 5 in the country. So Loyola will be tested by Breslin.
All right, Quinn. Keith over on Dave Cottle's side. Dave crying poor. He says, we lost all that firepower, 70% of the scoring gone, but they've scored goals in their first 2 wins.
They scored goals, Scott. A lot of them. Gavin Prout's giving them a huge lift, but the man that everybody wants to see today and throughout this year is number 44, Michael Batista. He is a legitimate first-team All-American candidate. He's a 5'10" senior. To pick up the slack from Mark Fry and Tim O'Shea, as I said, Mike Batista is going to have to score some goals. Already this year, 5 goals and 1 assist. Not real big, Scott, but very quick, very elusive.
Now, when we go to goal at Loyola, some question marks there. Jim Brown, a 4-year starter, is gone, and it's kind of a two-headed situation right now.
Yeah, there have been 2 goalies in the last 8 years here, Timmy McGeaney and Jim Brown. But the goalie we'll see starting today is Jason Bourne. He's from Mount St. Joe, a transfer from Catonsville Community College, but he will also split time, perhaps today, with freshman Mark Bloomquist, who's a highly touted freshman from North County High School in Linthicum, the same school that produced Timmy McGeaney, as I said, who was one of the best in Loyola history.
Okay, Keith, back with a look at the starting lineups and the precision-tuned keys of the game coming up right after this.
Toyota Lacrosse Game of the Week, brought to you by Toyota, making it happen every day. CollegeLacrosseUSA.com, the definitive source. STX Lacrosse, we live it, we breathe it, we build it. And Warrior, the means to dominate.
The Orvis and get 2 free Orioles tickets. Call 410.
Championship. At the midfield, Nick Hartopoulos, 56 career goals. Craig Schubert and Alex Liskey from Gilman complete that unit. And on defense, they're a little banged up. Crete Crown will not play. He tore his ACL. Stephen Card's a first-team All-American selection. Stuart Schwartz and Joe Watt complete that unit. All those players weigh more than 200 pounds. And in goal, Matt Breslin. He's a junior.
All right, Quinn, Keith, Dave Cottle's Greyhounds road wins at Delaware and Hofstra. How are they lining up today?
A lot of balance right now, Scott. They'll have to take on a much bigger Duke club, but on attack it'll be the Gettleman brothers that you'll hear a lot about today. Gunnar Gettleman, a sophomore from Manhattan. His brother Tim Gettleman is the leading scorer on attack, 6'3" senior. David Field, senior from Loyola High School, rounds out the starting attack. First team midfield, Gavin Prout, been the surprise maybe nationally in the country this year. Mike Batista and Michael Sullivan, 5'11", from Abington, Pennsylvania, round out the first team midfield. On defense, Joe Rodriguez, a stalwart back on defense, will not play today. Brian England will replace him. Billy Armstrong, 6-foot sophomore from New York, and David Metz, Loyola's All-American defenseman from West Genesee High School just outside of Syracuse. And Jason Bourne will start in goal, though we may see Mark Bloomquist as this game goes on.
All right, Keith, now time to break it down. Quint's precision-tuned keys to the game. How do you see it, Quint?
Well, a couple keys that we need to look for today. For Duke, I think it's important that they make this a football game. They are much bigger than Loyola. They average around 6'1", 200 pounds. They need to play physical. They also need to neutralize Loyola's Loyola's transition offense, because Loyola, I believe, needs to score in transition. Loyola's slightly faster and quicker. For Loyola, well, you talked about the goalie situation with Bourne and Bloomquist. They need 12 to 15 saves. And finally, Loyola needs to win faceoffs, control the ball, keep the ball out.
With that 25-game regular season win streak, that's an NCAA record, and they're still rolling. Probably after this, they're probably favored in their next 4 games. So if they could get a win today and be 3-0, they got a chance to really build some confidence.
Yeah, obviously, Quint, Dave has built this program into a national power, top 10 the last 13 years, and made 12 straight NCAA tournaments. And this is a big game for them, obviously, down the road when you're talking tournament and seeding. To beat a team like Duke on your home field is very important.
You're looking at the series.
Yeah, you look at the series. Loyola leads 5-3. Last time these teams played, I think, was in the early 90s. Historically, Loyola very tough on Curly Field, and Dave Cottle's record in the month of March is outstanding. So Loyola's team's always ready to play in the month of March, especially here at Curly Field.
Just about ready to start today's game with the Toyota face-off, and Scott Bross, one of the best in '99. He was second in the nation, won nearly 65% of his face-offs. He's up against Joe Meyer for the Greyhounds.
Yeah, Scott Bross from Centennial High School in Ellicott City, so the locals well represented today for Duke.
Very wet AstroTurf field, and conditions could play a role in this game, Quint. We expect more rain. Greyhounds on the attack. There he is, right out in front. Gavin Prout wastes little time. He has scored 16 seconds into the game, coming off a 6-goal game at Hofstra, and there he is, guys.
Loyola wins the faceoff, and Prout, who was originally came to Loyola College to play midfield, you see the defender slips right there. Joe Watt, the junior from Fayetteville, and Duke slips, and Prout just walks right in front of the Duke goalie and scores. Here it is again. Watch him. He has tons of time in front. There's no defense within 3 or 4 yard radius, and that's an easy goal. We talked about the field conditions. Loyola with an advantage here. This is their home field. They know how the grains of this field work.
And a battle off the Toyota face-off. Loose ball.
That's interesting. The grains of the field.
Well, all AstroTurf is seamed in a certain direction, and there are certain cuts that you make that you'll have excellent traction. There are other cuts you make, and you're with the grain and you tend to slide.
That's why you are
who you are.
The analyst of the year.
The baseball guys never told you about that one?
Dick Vitale doesn't know that kind of stuff. So Duke now trailing by a goal. Blue Devils in possession. Whoa, and there you see the field conditions as number 23, Craig Schubert, just went sliding down. Yeah.
Loyola's defense, much like the Princeton defense that we witnessed last week, they're quick to double team. They're very aggressive. Watch the slide right there by number 43 on Loyola, and you can see this slip by the Duke player Schubert on the far side. This field is not raining right now, but this field was soaked all morning.
And we expect more rain during the afternoon. Blue Devils work it around the perimeter. T.J. Durnan back behind the goal. Now they bring it back out on top. That's Liskey, the sophomore from Gilman. There's a shot and a save. So first save of the game made by Jason Bourne, and here come the Greyhounds in transition.
You talk about a confidence builder, and you talk about an important play in this game. Bourne is known to get on hot streaks or get on cold streaks. So far this year, he has been cold as ice. But that save, that first save, could be a huge one for Loyola.
Gunnar Gettleman gives it up to Mike Batista. Keith talked about him in the pregame show. An All-American and really a leader with the Greyhounds.
Yeah, with Mark Fry gone, who was the leader, I believe, on the midfield. He's got to step up his game, and so far he has. Him and Bobby Horsey and some of the other veterans.
He had 3 goals in the opener. There's a bouncer that hops over the goal and out of play. Quint, you touched earlier about the Greyhounds. We can talk about attack and midfield, but sometimes you said that doesn't matter with the way Dave Cottle plays.
Exactly. They have interchangeable parts. Tim Gettleman is the only pure attackman on their team, and Mike Batista would be the only pure midfielder. The rest of the players, they're interchangeable. They can switch from attack to midfield, which makes it very difficult for Duke to get the correct matchups.
And that's Bobby Horsey with it. He's one of those guys that'll go back and forth between midfield and attack. Horsey, 2 goals and 3 assists in the opener at Delaware, so he can add some firepower. Dave Cottle talked about guys in different roles this year on this team. Horsey's one of those.
And I think what he also said, Scott, was that sometimes you flourish in a different role, and it helps your career. And so far, for a couple of guys, Horsey's one of them.
Tim Gettleman gets double-teamed, and Nick Hartopoulos with the check and comes up in transition. Hartopoulos Cottle called him the second best we'll see all year at midfield.
And Hartopoulos is not going to pass the ball. You look at his career stats, 56 goals and only 6 assists.
Wow.
So here's a guy, when he put his head down in that last situation, he's looking to shoot for himself.
Unusual for a midfielder for that few of assists, but I mean, he's a greyhound. He plays, pun intended, he plays football for the Duke football team, and we'll see and hear a lot from him today.
This is Chris Hartopoulos, come in to replace his brother as Duke trailing 1-0 here. As Prot scored 16 seconds into the game.
Scotty, their other brother played for Princeton last week and scored the first goal of the game.
That's right, Sean. He's a freshman freshman left-handed attackman.
Jason Bourne with the outlet pass, and here come the Greyhounds.
Yeah, that's
Mike Stromberg.
Yeah, Mike Stromberg, real solid midfielder from Mount Hebron. Defensive midi.
Dave Cottle says he's one of our best all-around players. He can do so many things.
And he's big. He can match up with the Duke size, Scott, and he's also a real good athlete. Good feet, good basketball player.
And there again, another slip. Sliding down is Batista. Loose ball, and Duke trying to scoop it up.
I think we'll see a lot of that, guys. It'll take you a while to adjust to the footing.
Some of the Duke players don't have AstroTurf cleats on. They're wearing sneakers, and you can see they're having problems with the surface.
Unbelievable. You wonder if they even have them here.
That's bad preparation.
Yeah.
You got to be ready.
You know, you have to look at the weather report, and even if there's the slightest chance of any kind of bad weather, you got to be ready for that.
David Mascarella for the Greyhounds comes out on top. That's DJ Knott with it. Not a senior from Hanover, Maryland.
Yeah, he's a transfer, Scott, from Anne Arundel Community College, and you don't get too many guys from down there at Loyola or some of the big schools. He's one of the few. One of my alma maters. One of the many.
We got North County in goal. You're well represented today, Keith.
Loyola testing the various matchups. That was Gunnar Gettleman behind the goal. Earlier, we saw Tim Gettleman try to isolate.
And this is Bobby Horsey taking it to the goal, and now it's checked away. Good defense that time as Duke got a stick check there. Hunter Henry. And the Blue Devils in transition. Shot wide of the goal. That was Chris Hartopoulos firing.
So the Hartopoulos brothers already making their impact felt today.
We've got a timeout. 10 minutes left in the first quarter. Loyola with a 1-0 lead.
Toyota announces a 10-day tent event with over 18,000 new Toyotas offered as inventory clearance on site at 130 Toyota dealerships.
Well, we've talked about the footing, guys, and it's a tough track out there today.
I don't know if that was the footing or the hit right there, though.
Hunter Henry going down.
Yeah, on this play, watch the player stop right there and slip. Duke players made some changes. You could see exchanging shoes with one of the assistant coaches, Joe Albarisi, who graduated from Alfred College.
Joe just said,
90s.
these don't fit me.
You have to do what you have to do, and the assistant coach realizes that. And trouble is, you only have 2 or 3 assistant coaches and 40 players. Have to run to the Sports Authority real quick and buy a couple of pairs of shoes.
Greyhounds with a 1-0 lead. Duke in possession. Duke in the blue jerseys. Loyola in the gray with the green trim. And tough footing back behind the goal right there. You really got to have a good base under you. Be careful how you're cutting in this kind of condition. There's a shot on goal and another save. Nice job by Jason Bourne.
And Scott Quinn talked earlier in the game about transition. Every time Loyola trying to get the ball out on the break and push it, they've turned it over a couple of times, but at least they're trying to push the pace.
Quint, you said Duke needs to make this into a football game and get physical. Haven't been able to do that so far, I guess.
No, they haven't. And it's tough to do that on a wet surface like this when you're slipping and sliding. And anytime you go to hit a guy, you're really not sure of your footing. Loyola is well aware of the physical style that Duke wants to play, and Loyola wants to run. And anytime Duke takes a chance to make a hit, they want to capitalize and push it push the ball up the field.
Obviously, as a goalkeeper, how about stopping a ball on a wet AstroTurf surface? The skip different?
Very tough. Yes, the ball accelerates.
There's a shot on goal just wide of the mark. Firing was Alex Liskey.
Scott, so far, 6 minutes into the game, and Quint and Frood or Patrick or Durnan have yet to take a shot. Obviously, a point of emphasis, I'm sure, for Dave Cottle. I guess make the midfielders beat you today, maybe is his message to his ball club.
Yeah, and also, though, to give the Duke offense credit, it revolves around those attackmen, but they're not one-dimensional. They don't sit back there and continually go to the cage. They'd rather see this guy, this big horse right here, Hartopoulos, go to the goal for himself.
Double teamed and stripped in the long pole. Here come the Greyhounds pushing it, as Keith said. They want to take every chance they can. That's Peter Haas, who's been injured.
Wasn't supposed to play much, Scott, if at all.
Shot on goal, loose in front.
Peter Haas, one of the best all-around players for Loyola. He's been banged up with a hamstring injury.
And when he's right, probably the fastest guy in the field, right?
You can see a noticeable limp right there with Haas. Interesting with this kind of weather and this kind of
slipping and sliding
track,
right
that he would give it a shot. Of course, he only plays a certain amount of games.
He's out now. He was in for quick run at it.
And he's immediately talking with Joe Artuso, the trainer, as to see how that hamstring held up.
A little over 8 minutes left, first quarter. The only score from Gavin Prout. Prout 6 goals last week at Hofstra, and he's been a great find for Dave Cottle.
That last possession, you could see how quickly Loyola triple-teamed Nick Hartopoulos. Point of emphasis, they're not going to let him penetrate from up top.
Now they get it out in front. Looking for some room was Fraud. And there's a shot and a score. So Duke ties it up at 1.
Patrick from behind inside to Chris Kakel for Duke's first goal. Excellent ball movement by Duke. They wheel the ball behind the cage. They catch Loyola out of position, and Kakel right down the middle of the field, left-handed. The senior from St. Paul's puts Duke on the board 1-1.
Oh, and his uncle got to be proud of that one. Uncle Harry.
Uncle Harry is
down
our
on
leader.
The sideline. Tied at 1, 7:49 left. Kakel real good with the extra man last year. Had 10 extra man goals, but knots it up at 1.
And he made the switch, too, from attack to midfield. So Duke also shows a little bit of versatility with their offensive unit. Kakel, a solid player, 2-time All-Metro player, as Quinn said, from St. Paul's.
Big kid. About 6'4", 6'3".
St. Paul's well represented in this game. Michael Sadisher plays for St. Paul's. His dad, Dennis, you know real well, the golf pro at Cays Valley. Always nice to give those guys a plug.
Absolutely. You might
time.
Especially at that place. 7:49. Loose ball and bodies banging. Players trying to get under control, and finally Duke comes up with it. Got a timeout. Looks like Mike Pressler took the timeout. Stops the clock with 7:37 left in the quarter. We'll keep it right here. We're tied at 1. Kakel with the goal for Duke after Loyola got a quick one just 16 seconds into the game from Gavin Prout.
We mentioned you mentioned Mike Pressler done a great job at Duke. I had a chance to talk to Dick Adell, whose team played him last week, and said that Duke's as good as anybody out there right now because of their attack. But it said that Maryland should have won that game and actually outplayed them on Duke's home field. So, as Quinn said a couple weeks ago, just so much balance in college lacrosse today on any given Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. Breslin, really the hero in that game, shut down Maryland the last almost 19 minutes of the game, kept them off the board, and Duke was able to pull out a win. But I guess Duke and Loyola, guys, similar teams when you look. You got a top echelon, then you got another couple of teams like Duke and Loyola very close.
Yes,
right?
exactly. As you said, on any given Saturday, Duke with the advantage because of their attack and their goaltender. But if Jason Bourne can keep coming up with the saves, this game's going to be a 1 or 2 goal game.
Maybe tease the fact that we'll be in Syracuse next Friday to document the Hopkins-Syracuse game at the Carrier Dome, our first road trip since we've been doing these games.
Prime time at 8 o'clock, St. Patty's Day night in the Dome. I can't imagine the sights that we will see that night.
And then Sunday, we're on the air as well next weekend. UMBC at Georgetown. That's a noon game. Bodies down and whistles sound. Stop play. And it'll go Loyola's way.
Playing without the stick, illegal procedure. Anytime you drop your stick, right here you'll see number 15 for Duke. He continues to play and make contact with the Loyola player. That's a possession foul.
This is Batista with it. And he gives it up to Gavin Prout. Prout not real big, 5'11", 175-pound junior. They dropped Lacrosse at Gannon College in Erie, PA, and Dave Cottle went out and found himself a score.
Ooh, boy.
Interesting. Prout would have been drafted in the indoor league. He's from Ontario, Canada. He's an excellent indoor lacrosse player. He would have been drafted had Dave Cottle not taken him here to Loyola.
And there's a double team we saw last week.
Tim Gettleman, a little jump shot, but a save made by Matt Breslin.
And Timmy didn't have much on that shot. Pretty easy save by Breslin.
And the Greyhound defense puts the squeeze right there on the Blue Devils.
Again, you see Craig Patrick losing his footing.
Ooh, and Batista takes a shot.
And he loses his stick.
Now here comes Duke. Loose ball out in front, and the Greyhounds, Mike Batista up with it. Coming in a hurry, trying to dodge, but you see what happened. No footing, and down he goes and loses possession.
Those are the type of flurries that Duke is going to generally win because of their size and their strength. You can see there were multiple hits. The longer the ball's on the ground, it really favors them because of their athleticism.
So Duke setting things up now. Nick Hartopoulos comes on.
You mentioned that he played football, Duke. He's a wide receiver and just a all-around exceptional athlete.
Boy, he moves.
Imagine that family.
The way he moves.
You talk about the Danahan brothers, how competitive they were last week. I bet they had some, the Hartopoulos family had some rumbles in the backyard. 3 Division I lacrosse players.
Michael Sullivan gives it up for Loyola. They go back behind the goal to Tim Gettleman. Gettleman and his brother Gunnar Gettleman on that Greyhound attack. Tim, the senior, his brother Gunnar, a sophomore, but a very talented player.
Duke's defense historically not very quick to help out and to double team the ball. They leave you on an island to cover your man. They say, hey, go out, play fundamentally sound one-on-one defense. We're not going to help you.
Bad pass that time from
Prout.
Yeah, tried to get the horse.
Didn't have to help there. That's an unforced error that's just almost inexcusable. Tried to use the turf as a kind of to speed up the pass, and it did not work.
4:49 left in the first quarter. We're tied at 1. Back right after this.